Hi guys, this is a quick overview of the study by Lee et al. 1997, and this is for the OCR A2 Psychology spec. Background. One aspect of moral thinking is honesty. Kante's rule of morality is that it is wrong to tell lies. Kohlberg sees this as a universal component of morality, whereas other researchers say that the link between lying and morality is more complicated. In some situations, morality will conflict with other moral values, and this may be different in different cultures, particularly in Eastern and Western cultures. Eastern cultures tend to be collectivist, where the person's identity is bound closely to that of the group, whereas Western cultures tend to be individualist, with the rights and interests of the individual being paramount. Cultural values, such as being an unsung hero in China, may cause children to see lying differently, i.e., more positively, when the lie is used to deny a good deed, compared to Canadian children from an individualist culture. Kohlberg suggested that cultural differences in moral thinking did not occur, but Lee et al. Decided to investigate this, and what they actually did find is that there are cultural differences in moral thinking. Aim. This study aimed to see if Chinese children from an Eastern culture and Canadian children from the Western culture would rate truth-telling and lie-telling differently in prosocial settings, i.e., when someone does something good, while the behavior of telling lies in antisocial settings, i.e., where someone does something bad, would be perceived the same by both cultures. Participants. There were 120 Chinese children and 108 Canadian children. The Chinese sample consisted of 47-year-olds, 49-year-olds, and 40 11-year-olds. There was an equal gender split between each of the age groups, and the children were divided equally between those in the physical story condition and those in the social story condition. The Chinese participants were from Hangzhou, which is one of the main cultural, educational, and commercial centers in China. The Canadian sample had 36 7-year-olds, 49 year-olds, and 32 11-year-olds. This time, the gender split was 58 boys and 50 girls, with each group having a slightly unbalanced gender split. The Canadian sample from Fredericton in New Brunswick, which was similar to Hangzhou, but its population was smaller than Hangzhou. From the Canadian sample, 56 were randomly allocated to the social condition and the others to the physical story condition. An independent measures design was used both in terms of the ethnicity of the child, which was a naturally occurring IV, and the condition that they were placed in. And here's a little table down here if you don't know what an independent measures design is. You can just have a quick look. Conditions. The conditions comprised of prosocial or antisocial settings, the age of the children, the ethnicity of the children, and the type of story. Materials. There were 4 types of stories that were used for the 4 conditions. 1. Prosocial setting and truth-telling. Prosocial setting and lie-telling. Antisocial setting, truth-telling. Antisocial setting and lie-telling. In the physical stories, the children rip out pages of books. In the social stories, someone either gets helped or hurt. The children were first asked if the act was good or naughty, and then after the truth or lie is told, the children are asked if the act of truth-telling or lie-telling in this situation was good or naughty. And here's the scale that they used, ranging from very, very good to very, very naughty. So here's an example of one of the stories. I'm going to go through the examples, but I'm just going to go through this example, but you can have a read of the other examples if you want. So this is the general layout of the stories. Here is Ryan. Ryan wanted to make paper aeroplanes, so he tore some pages out of a storybook from the library. And then the researchers asked, is what Ryan did good or naughty? So Ryan tore the pages from a storybook, and when the teacher noticed the missing pages in the book, she said to the class, I see that someone has torn some pages from this book. The teacher then asked Ryan, do you know who tore out the pages? Ryan said to his teacher, I did it. Is what Ryan said to his teacher good or naughty? Here is the prosocial behavior and truth-telling physical story. Just pause the video if you want to read through this one. It's good to understand these, so I'd definitely recommend reading this. Antisocial behavior, lie-telling social story. Again, just pause the video if you want to have a read through that. Prosocial behavior and lie-telling social story. And again, just pause the video if you want to have a read through this one. Okay, so this is the method. First, the children were randomly allocated to either the social story condition or the physical story condition. They were tested individually, and first of all, the rating chart was explained to them. When the children answered their questions, they could use the words, symbols, or sometimes both. Each child listened to all four social or all four physical stories. The meaning of the symbols on the chart was repeated each time the question was asked. The good and naughty meanings were alternated so that the researchers knew the child wasn't just saying the first option each time. The researchers also used counterbalancing by randomly allocating stories to one of two orders and then giving about half of the children one order and the rest of the children the second order. Results. Having established that there was no significant difference between the order in which the stories were given and the gender of the child, these variables were ignored and the data could be analysed just in terms of the difference between cultures and the type of story. The scale ranging from very, very naughty to very, very good was converted to quantitative data by giving very, very good a score of 3 and very, very naughty a score of -3, and the ones in between were just like given scores of perhaps -2 for very, very naughty and -1 for naughty, and so on. For the first question, is what ... did good or naughty, every good deed had a positive score and every bad deed had a negative score. Whatever the type of story, whatever the age of the child, and whatever the ethnicity of the child. However, the ratings of truth-telling and lie-telling as good or bad showed differences between the cultures. From the results, you can see that as the Chinese children got older, they began to see lie-telling in a positive light and gave it a higher rating than truth-telling in good deed situations. This was only shown by those aged 11 in the social story, but this was shown by those aged 9 to 11 in the physical story condition. However, they still deemed lie-telling in a bad deed situation as negative. The Canadian children showed the Western moral thinking of disapproving of all lie-telling in every situation, every story type across all ages. However, they consistently approved of truth-telling. The statistical analysis was an analysis of covariance. It was a 2 times 2 times 3 analysis. In terms of significance, the findings were, for the prosocial truth-telling condition, the two cultures showed no significant difference in their rating of prosocial behaviours. However, there was a significant interaction between age and culture as Canadian children gave similar ratings to truth-telling at each age, whereas Chinese children rated truth-telling less positively as age increased. Prosocial lie-telling situation. The children in each culture and each age rated the lie-telling behaviour differently in the prosocial situation. Canadian children rated the lie-telling negatively, although this became less negative as age increased. For the Chinese children, they changed from rating lie-telling negatively at age 7 to rating it positively at age 11. Antisocial truth-telling condition. There was no significant difference between the children from Canada and China, with children from each culture rating truth-telling very positively in the antisocial situations. Antisocial lie-telling condition. This time, the significant difference was shown between age groups, with the negative ratings increasing with age irrespective of culture. To obtain qualitative data, the children were asked why they had given the ratings that they had. In relation to their negative ratings for truth-telling in the prosocial situations, nearly 50% of the Chinese children said that they had done so because the child in the story had been begging for or wanting praise. A third of the Chinese children said that you shouldn't leave your name after doing a good deed, or you shouldn't tell your teacher, and this was repeated as the reason for rating lie-telling positively in the prosocial situations. The children did not explain why these rules existed, but they may not have felt the need to do so. Conclusions. In the realm of lying and truth-telling, a close relationship between socio-cultural practices and moral judgments exists. Specific social and cultural norms have an impact on children's developing moral judgments, which in turn are modified by age and experience in a particular culture. Chinese children rate truth-telling in prosocial situations less positively and lie-telling in the same situations less negatively than Canadian children. Both Chinese and Canadian children show similar moral evaluations of lie-telling and truth-telling related to antisocial behaviours. The emphasis on self-effacement and modesty in Chinese culture increasingly exerts its impact on Chinese children's moral judgments. Moral development is a highly contextualized process and is affected by the culture or social environment in which individuals are socialized. So there was a quick overview of Lee et al. Study, and I hope you paused the video, made some notes as you went through, and sorry if I spoke a bit fast, but thank you for watching, and I'll be making some more videos, so make sure you check those out. Thank you.